to external work, that Al-Qaeda is doing external work, and the first reference is in Iran. Why is that?
Well, external work or external operations are their attacks basically in the West or elsewhere around the world. Al-Qaeda is organized into various regions, and there are regional emirs who are in charge of certain countries. On top of that, there's a layer of Al-Qaeda that's in charge of basically spectacular terrorist attacks against American interests, Western interests, both in the West and elsewhere.
So there's an individual named here that I'm not familiar with that we'll get to in a moment. And they talk about him being in Iran. He has 6 to 8 brothers to choose from. It goes on to say in the letter, his plan is to stay around 3 months in Iran, to train the brothers there, then start moving them and distributing them in the world for their missions and specialties.
This is Sheikh Yunus al-Maritani. He was a top Al-Qaeda operative who was charged with planning spectacular terrorist attacks. And in fact, he was in charge of planning an attack in 2010 that was thwarted by European intelligence officials that wanted to replicate Mumbai-style attacks in several European cities. And his operatives were moving through Iran, as we reported previously, over and over again, and actually received safe haven in Iran after the plot was thwarted.
Let's talk about that safe haven, because Al-Qaeda presumably could use a lot of different countries as a safe haven that could be sympathetic to them. Why Iran? Why is Iran being used?
Well, Iran is safe for them in some ways because in Pakistan, the Americans have an intelligence presence. Parts of the Pakistani establishment cooperate with us, other parts don't. But in Iran, this was seen as, under this deal, as a safe way for them to move operatives back and forth to Europe and elsewhere.
There's those that say, though, wait a minute, you know, Iran is Shia, Al-Qaeda is Sunni, they don't get along, so there's no merit in this. To that, what do you say?
Well, you know, Iran and Al-Qaeda have the common enemies. They have a lot of common enemies, including us. And there's definitely points of tension between them. There have been antagonistic episodes between them. There's areas where they don't cooperate. In fact, they're at each other's throats in Syria and Yemen and elsewhere. But despite all of that, they still have a deal, and that deal allows them to cooperate against us and against the West.